Intertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
I was really young, and I played in little bands, but then I answered an ad for a real band, for a keyboard player, and I was 14 years old, and, they didn't know that, and, they were all early 20s, and it was like a horn band, a seriously working horn band. They played every weekend, so I show up for this audition, and they're all looking at me like, looking at each other, like, are we going to even let this kid audition, and so I guess I played well enough and they were desperate enough that I got the gig. And that began my life of debauchery.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Once again I find myself in a place I don't understand. The goddess of fate is showing me the back of her hand, and try as I may, I don't understand. Of all the people in the world, oh, I need. I grow so weary of the chains I have to bear.
Oh, baby. I love that song. Welcome, folks.
That's because you played
Tuesday.
On it.
Huh?
That's because you played on it.
Oh, you weren't supposed to.
Well, that's just a small detail. Yeah.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is Intersect Radio, powered by the Intertalk Radio Network. I'm your host, A-Train, broadcasting live from the Intersect studio here in East Nasty. We have a great show for you today with one of my best friends and one of the finer voices in all of music. But before I introduce you to him, I'd like to give a shout out to Pitbull Audio and Studio Instrument Rentals, major sponsors of the Intertalk Radio Network, and to all my friends over at Innovative Percussion here in Nashville. Thanks for the sticks and good Cuban food and the good hang. Love you guys over there. But here we go, folks. Today, drum roll, please. My guest is Brent Bourgeois. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing just great. It's nice to hear that you finally got employed somewhere.
Well, I wouldn't go that far to say I'm employed.
Yeah.
I am doing something else. Yeah.
Well, that's right. You're in radio.
Right. Not a far stretch from music.
Yeah.
But
it's great to hear your voice. It's good to hear your voice, and it's good to hear you doing this. I think you're the perfect person to have a radio show.
Oh, wow! Thank you. Anyway, every time I hear that intro, Paul does the intro there. I kind of giggle because a radio host. It's kind of wacky. But I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you, man. So
I always like talking.
You're
about
over there,
you,
and
so let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So I just found out like a couple of days ago, Brent Thomas, huh?
Yeah,
that's cool. Well,
yes. I would say I'm named after St. Thomas, I suppose.
Undoubtedly.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Undoubtedly. Yeah, it does. It does. You got to go back to your wiki page and put that in there.
Uh-huh.
But you were born in New Orleans?
Yeah, I come from a long line of New Orleanians on both sides of my family.
I never knew that. For some reason, I always thought it was Texas.
No, the clue should be the name. Bourgeois. There was like 4 pages of them in the phone book down there.
4 pages of Bourgeois?
You bet, along with the Bordeaux and all those other French type names nobody pronounces correctly.
Or spells correctly sometimes.
Like my dog, Fido. Fido, Phideaux. Fido.
Yeah. So how did you get to Texas, and when did that transpire?
Well, first we moved to New Jersey when I was a kid. I kind of grew up in Morristown, New Jersey, and following my dad. My dad was a business guy who took promotions, which meant moving places, and so he first got a job in New York City, which meant we lived in New Jersey, and then it was like Mad Men, and then he got a promotion, and we moved to Dallas, and I was like 13 or something like that. So I really started playing in bands, about 14 years old in Dallas.
Okay, how did you start playing in bands? Had you been playing piano and stuff prior to that?
Yeah, and I was somewhat, I guess you could call it a prodigy. I mean, I was really good when I was really young, and I played in little bands. But then I answered an ad for a real band for a keyboard player. And I was 14 years old, and, they didn't know that. And they were like, they were all early 20s, and it was like a horn band. A seriously working horn band. Played Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, the whole 9 yards. They played every weekend. They had, and so I show up for this audition, and they're all looking at me like, looking at each other like, are we going to even let this kid audition, and so I guess I played well enough, and they were desperate enough that I got the gig, and that began my life of debauchery, because I was never really the same after that, because I was hanging around with guys that were a lot older than me, and trying to fit in, and from then on, playing in clubs, and back then, I don't know if you remember this, but it was a lot easier to play when you were underage in a club, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Than it is now.
I used to do that myself. I did that myself. I'd play, but I couldn't go out in the audience. I had to, during the breaks, I had to stay in the dressing room and drink Coca-Cola.
Right. There were certain restrictions that you were supposed to have, but that, it just kind of depended on where you were, whether they bothered to enforce them. So, that was really my start. And then from that band, I actually started my own band with Richard Oates, and it was called the Baked Bears, and Danny Neal and Steve Mitchell, and that sort of turned into Uncle Rainbow. Yeah, I mean, It did. And
how did you meet? How did Larry come into the picture? It's Larry Tagg.
Merle Taggart.
Yeah.
Well, his brother Eric Tagg was a keyboard player in Dallas. They were from Dallas, the Taggs, and I knew Eric before I knew Larry, because Larry was off in Colorado playing with another band, and he had moved and lived in Colorado by then, and so I didn't really know him, but I knew Eric, and but we knew of Larry. Larry had a really good reputation as a bass player. He just wasn't around. So when Uncle Rainbow moved to California, we were moved there to do great things, and one of the first things that happened to us then was the person that sort of moved us there kind of thought we needed a better bass player. And so we all had this idea, why don't we call Larry Tagg and see what he's doing? And he agreed. Yeah, he apparently wasn't doing much, because he agreed to come out. He drove out in his little Spider and joined Uncle Rainbow in the, right when we first got to Northern California. And then that's how we realized that we had a lot more music in common than anybody else in the band. We kind of like the same things.
Okay.
And
I didn't know Steve Mitchell was from Texas.
Yeah. You don't know from that accent?
No. I always thought he was from Sacramento,
Oh, boy. He still has a thick Texas drawl.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But Larry and I made a couple of trips to New York on our own. It was right when the new wave punk thing was happening, and we got ourselves, we got influenced by that. Not that we wanted to have a punk band, but like Talking Heads and things like that. We really started to like things like that, and the rest of the band wasn't all that interested.
Were you guys writing original music at this time?
Yes, we were. Although a lot of what we were doing was Little John Sanders' music. And that tended towards, very R&B and Blue-Eyed Soul and, kind of. But we, I wrote songs. Richard and I wrote songs. Larry wrote songs. And they were all kind of thrown in the mix. We were kind of a combination of really interesting covers and original music.
Okay, so what did you do in New York during that time?
Well, we just would go to clubs and clubs, museums, art galleries, and we just tried to drink in the scene, and we really did. And it was right when music was really undergoing quite a bit of change, and things were getting much harder edged, and kind of a rebellion of the disco era. And so we kind of caught that and tried to bring it back to the group. And
how were you guys? How were you getting back and forth from Northern California to New York?
Well, we just would go. We would have some kind of break or whatever, and we took that opportunity. We took it when we could. We were a very hard-working band. We used to play 5 or 6 nights a week. So I don't really know how we did it now that I think about it, but somehow we did. We were playing all the time.
Where did you play?
Well, there was just this whole circuit in Northern Cal, in the Bay Area, and then in Sacramento too, and Monterey. Like if you take a big, draw a circle from Monterey through Sacramento and all the whole Bay Area. I mean, we just had this very large circuit, and we'd play one night in this place. We got to the point where we had these different clubs on different nights that we would do. Tuesday night in this place, Wednesday night in this place, Thursday night in this place. And then we would, we'd come up and do week-long runs in Sacramento and week-long runs in Monterey and then occasionally we'd go down to a place like San Diego. But, we played all the time. And that was back when you played 4 or 5 sets a night.
Yeah.
These young people, they don't understand.
No, they don't get it. They do one set and they figure I'm a star.
30 minutes and they're,
yeah,
they're pooped.
Of course they don't play for anybody. Unless they sell enough tickets to their friends.
And we used to
That's
have to
another
shovel 8 feet of snow before we could even get to Vanna.
Before we can open the trailer.
Yeah.
But so, man, I didn't know you guys worked that much. Did you record as Uncle Rainbow?
Yes, I mean, the whole reason that Uncle Rainbow got moved from Dallas to the Bay Area was under the auspices of one of the Doobie Brothers that moved us out. He was related by marriage to Richard Oates, and fancied himself as an entrepreneur at that point, and kind of got in cahoots with somebody who the guy who was managing John Mellencamp at the time. His name was Johnny Cougar, and and then there was Ian Samwell was in the mix of that too, and so we came out to get ready, prepared to record an album with this new label, and we did. I mean, we recorded the songs, but the album never came out, and Johnny Cougar's album came out, and the rest of that is history. And then we got involved with Narada Michael Walden. And we did 3 songs with him, and he got us a serious showcase with Geffen Records, and we almost got signed. That was brand new Geffen Records, and we almost got signed by John Kalodner, who's a famous A&R guy. And we would have, except that at that moment he had a A&R, head of A&R, named Carol Childs, who had to agree with him. She had to sign off on. They had to both sign off on anything they signed. And so we did this showcase for John Kalodner at SIR in San Francisco, and he loved it. He couldn't get enough of it. And then about 3 weeks later, he brought up Carol Childs, did exactly the same thing, exactly the same place. And she didn't like it at all.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man.
That's it, Yeah.
Yeah.
And ironically, when Uncle Rainbow split up because Larry and I decided to form our own band, we made some demos. And one of the first people that we got those demos to was Carol Childs at Geffen.
Wow.
And she brought us down for an interview because she really liked it.
Well, Brent, hold on to that thought just a minute. Hold on to that thought just a minute. We're getting ready to go to a commercial break. Something we have to do here, Well, folks, hang in there. We'll be right back with my guest. It's the Brent Bourgeois.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Welcome back, folks. That's the voice and music sound of my guest today, Mr. Brent Bourgeois. Brent, I got to tell you that when I was sending music to Paul and Florentino at the station, they had a special request for "Dare to Fall in Love." So I sent it to him, but I think there was some licensing things that kind of made it impossible.
Yeah. You know, it's the death of us all.
Licensing.
The licensing. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's one. I think it's one of those 10 circles of hell.
Oh boy! So
it's not one that gets heard of a lot, but yeah.
Right. That was a great song, though. There still is a great song, "Dare to Fall in Love."
Well, thank you. It was kind of an odd video, but yeah.
Yeah. But, the video helped, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole story behind that, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
That's,
okay. Well, let's get into Bourgeois Tagg. You and Larry decided to form a band of your own, and
yeah, I mean, it was kind of based on the fact that we were kind of diverging musically from the rest of the band, and that's what happens usually. It's and bands kind of have their lifespan. I think most people will tell you that. Everybody but the Rolling Stones.
Right.
And so we were kind of getting into kind of more, for lack of a better term, talking head style music, and so we did, and we got some backing, and we started writing songs, and we actually moved up to Sacramento because that's where the backing was. Somebody agreed to sort of just rent us a place and pay us a salary, and just so that we could do nothing but write.
Really?
And that's how I ended up in Sacramento. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, never, of course, never intending to stay here. But that's just the way that's the way it works,
Yeah.
Then you meet some girl, and the rest of it, it's over.
I was about to say that you met your sweetheart there.
Actually, I met her in Santa Cruz at a club, and then only to find out that she was from Sacramento, and saw her, I don't know, a month later or something at a club in Sacramento. She was actually finishing up her college career at UC Santa Cruz.
Huh.
That's right. And so, but she was from Sacramento, so.
Wow.
So I guess we weren't going anywhere for a while.
For a while.
Yeah.
And then you were going back.
Yeah. But that's later on in the story. But,
yeah, that's later on in the story. So, okay,
yeah, so
you
Larry
and Larry...
we were writing songs, and we decided to, it was time to put together a band. And, we had somewhat of a reputation around, at least enough to where, there were people that wanted to play with us. And so we knew this guy, Lyle Workman, who had played in a band in a club across the street from us. Like, it was one of those places that we played often. And he was at this other club often. And we would go see him on breaks, and they would come see us and all that kind of stuff. So he was the perfect guitar player for what we had in mind. And he agreed to join us, but he agreed to join us. He had to fulfill commitments. So for about 9 months, we sort of had a couple of different other guitar players, Lance, Tabor, and Henry.
Really?
So, but yeah, Hank the Chank Bank was.
I never knew Hank was in your band.
Yeah. Just it was brief, but yeah.
Was this the same time that? Was this the same time that their band was going? What was the name of that band?
The Runners?
The Zoo Dirt. The Runners, yeah.
The Runners? This was after that. The Runners were going, during Uncle Rainbow, and,
Okay.
And I think this was post Runners.
Okay.
And so anyway, we got Lyle, and we found this young drummer named Mike Urbano around town that was recommended to us, and then we knew, because it was that kind of music, we were going to need another keyboard player, and so we found a guy named Scott Moon, and that was the group. And then we started playing local clubs, because we had such a good reputation with the club scene in the whole Bay Area, it was pretty easy to get gigs. And so we just kind of picked up where the other band left off, and only we were doing more original music. And we kind of, from the beginning, did this from the point of view of getting signed.
Yeah. Of course.
And so it really worked, in retrospect, it worked pretty textbook. Of course, this is not how it works anymore. Which you could do several shows about, but back in that time, you made your demos and you shopped them to labels, and maybe shopped a manager, and the manager might shop, or a lawyer, and whatever. And the first thing we did was we got management with Bill Graham Management. And then we had some really good offers. And the one that made the most sense to us was from Island Records. And so we signed with Island Records and did 2 albums on Island.
So, what happened to the band? Sounds like everything is working out.
Oh.
Bourgeois Tagg. Sounds like everything is working out. I mean, you got...
Oh, yeah. Like, you'd be a fool to leave that thing after the second record, wouldn't you? I mean, there's nobody that would be that stupid, would they? Yeah, well, what we've kind of left out, and this is kind of a faith show, right? But
Okay.
is that, starting in music, professional music as young as I did, really kind of led me to, some pretty dark places. I was trying to keep up with people a lot older than me. I tried to drink like them. I tried to do drugs like them. And, it was pretty steady by the time we were done with our first record. I pretty much had the disease. And when we were doing our second record, I kind of, through a couple of different ways, sort of saw the light and got sober and started going to a church. I mean, our friend Charlie Peacock, who you're probably going to have on the show if you haven't already, is really kind of led the way. He, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, for me too.
Had a similar story. Yeah, similar story. And so, going through that complete change of mind and heart and soul and all that led me to write very different music. Very introspective, very, kind of, me-centered, kind of recovery, kind of recovery music almost. And it didn't really fit into a band. Really wasn't band music. And I had written a lot. I had this whole record worth of music that really was not, as some of it was, but a lot of it was not band oriented. It was kind of thing you would say lyrically. It was kind of stuff you would say as a solo artist. And there were a number of other things going on. I didn't particularly care the direction that the band was headed into our third album. It felt like we were trying too hard to be too commercial. And we were almost getting the instruments taken out of our hands in an effort to sound perfect, and we were a great live band. That was the whole thing. And the instruments were kind of being taken out of our hands. And so, I don't know what drives a person at that moment in time. But I decided that I needed to be on my own. And I did. And it was a painful thing. It was a painful thing for the other guys. It was painful. I mean, it was kind of like, what, that's what I said. Who'd be stupid enough to leave that, at that moment. And it just felt like the right thing to do. So I was retained by Bill Graham Management, and I got a deal with Virgin Records. And the rest of the band kind of went on to become Todd Rundgren's backup band. Yeah. And which you might want to go back to, and this whole Todd thing, but
yeah, because you guys, you had worked together prior to that. That's how you met Todd, right?
Yes. He had produced our second record, and we had played a number of gigs as his band. He liked the musicianship of the band. It was, and it's not a surprise because we were a lot like that. It's funny. It's like we were influenced by him among a lot of other people, but so our musicianship was similar to the kind of musicianship that he was accustomed to.
Right.
Or that.
Did you guys seek him out as Did you seek him out as a producer?
Yes, when it came time to make our second record, we sat in a room with our management with a list of people that was possible, and we did pretty good in our first record, so we had a better choice than some do. The possibilities, and his name just kind of jumped off the page for all of us. Like, you mean we could get him, kind of thing. And it yes, and the answer turned out to be yes.
Cool.
So, and he had just come off the XTC record. Yeah. So.
So now you're on Island. No, where's your solo?
That was Island.
Version?
That was Island Records.
Island.
Yeah, that was Island. Yeah.
And
and we.
You start. Did you move to Nashville?
No, I didn't move to Nashville until No, it was much after that.
Yeah.
So
did the Graham people consider you a Christian music artist as a solo? Okay.
Me as a solo artist? No.
Mm-hmm.
No, they didn't, and it was kind of funny, in a way, because of my connection with Charlie and that kind of group of people, people in the Christian music circles, fans and stuff, thought we were a Christian band that just wasn't in the Christian music scene. And especially because our first single was called Mutual Surrender. And it was one of those songs that could be taken like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of wishing going on there, but we were not a Christian band. I mean, not in any sense of that. You and I know that word. And I was not a Christian artist. I was an in recovery artist, kind of more than like a. They knew that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it wasn't until the end of that I did 2 records, and that's a long story too. But the bottom line is, my first record did fairly well. My second record did not do well at all because the company Virgin had decided to reopen their Charisma record, their Charisma label in the United States. It was a popular thing in England. And so they decided to make it, and they put me on there as the first artist, but they never really set it up right, and they folded it after my second album came out. And that was pretty much the end of that. So I wrote songs for a while for my publishing company, and then Charlie Peacock kept sending me stuff he was doing and saying, "Man, you should really consider coming to Nashville. There's a lot of cool stuff going on, and you could do a record here, and you could produce stuff. I got more stuff I'm producing than I even know what to do with, and so that's kind of the way that started."
Cool. Well,
that was,
we're gonna take another break here, Brent. I hate to break you up right there.
No, don't worry.
But we're gonna come back and we'll continue with your travels to Nashville.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll be right back, folks.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
The band.
Band was on that?
Tell us.
You know who the band was? That was Steve Jordan on drums.
Uh-huh.
And your old pal Randy Jackson on bass.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
Danny Korchmar on guitar.
Yeah, I remember when you went to do that, because something about Steve Jordan playing guitar or something.
Yes, he did. He played.
Yeah.
In fact, he played guitar on that too. He loved playing little funky kind of rhythm guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and he in fact that's all he wanted to do. And he was always carrying around a guitar, and so he finally, put a wah-wah in front of him and had him play. And he's got a nickname on the record. It's called Foe. And I'll leave that up to you to figure out what that was.
Oh, boy. Did you guys record that in L.A.?
Yeah. And in fact,
okay.
This is a very tiny piece of trivia, but I was the first and probably the last person to ever call him up and hire him exclusively to play guitar on a session. That was later in the record when I moved over to another. I did half of it with those guys,
Mm-hmm.
and then half of it with David Holman and up in his place. And there came a need for a certain kind of thing, and kind of a funk guitar thing. And I actually called him and hired him to come play guitar. And he was.
Wow.
I think that was the proudest moment of his life.
Really?
So.
Got called to play guitar.
Not really, but yes. Yeah, he got called. I mean, it certainly made him happy. He certainly validated him.
Well, I tell you, the guys at the station really love that song, man. They found out you were going to be on, and I sent them songs, and that one wasn't amongst the three, and it's like, what? Man, you got to play Dare to Fall in Love, man. Come on, man. I said, okay, as long as we don't break any laws. Okay, so, all right, Nashville. You're headed to Nashville.
Yeah.
Pack up the truck.
Yeah. Packed up the truck and
I
reluctant
that.
Family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And reluctant family, you remember that? Headed to, it's like opposite of the Beverly Hillbillies.
Opposite direction, yeah, of Jethro.
Yeah. At least to Marianne it was, right? So, Charlie had sort of held out this very large carrot. And I didn't, I was at a point where there wasn't a lot going on where I was. So, and I had increasingly kind of gotten, more kind of, involved in church and it, but I had this view of Christian music as being much lesser than, which, that probably was 90%, reputation rather than actually knowing what I was talking about. But Charlie was sending me stuff that changed my opinion, and mainly was done by him. But it kind of had let me see that it was possible to do, some very hit music. If you kept the lyric to a certain kind of thing, you could do almost anything you wanted. Right. And that's kind of what I did. It was like, as long as the lyrics, said what they were supposed to say, the music was like whatever you came up with. And so my Christian record was really all over the place, musically. So he was true to his word. I came to Nashville and we went around and I had a couple of different offers. I think it was sort of a thing where, it was kind of cool at that moment in time to catch a kind of a secular pop artist that, became a Christian and do a record. That was kind of a cool thing. And so I ended up with Reunion Records, and it's co-produced by Charlie and Wayne Kirkpatrick. But the other thing was that he was right on about was that there was a lot of production work. And my heart was very much into production and wanted to do that, almost as much, or if not as much as being an artist. And I kind of went to Nashville with the idea that whichever road, when that road forked, whichever road was bearing more fruit, that's the one I would go down. And so in the end, it really was the producing. I enjoyed it more. I didn't feel like, it was always a bit of a stretch to be a performer for me. But I loved producing. I loved being in the studio. And so I ended up doing. And
you're good at it.
And
you're very good at it.
You and I, though, one of the kind of turning points for me was when I was asked to be Michael W. Smith's music director after I'd written a couple of songs with him that were pretty popular, and you were on that tour.
Yes, thanks to you. Yes, thanks to you, because I had been rejected earlier.
I didn't know that, but
you didn't know that. Yeah,
no.
For the, I think it was. I think I can say this. It was for the album before. I'll Bring You Home.
Oh yeah, no, that was the one we did. Yeah. I'll Lead You Home.
Yeah, I'll leave you home.
Yeah. I'll leave you.
I'll leave you home while we see the world. Right. I'll tell you. I'll take pictures. Honest, I will.
That's funny.
But it's the Go West Young Man.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I kind of.
That's where
tried
I met
to get
those
that.
Guys.
Yeah, but thanks to you, I got on that tour, man, and it was probably the best touring situation I've ever been in.
Well, you can't beat that plane, but anyway.
You can't beat that. I was just about to say that. Especially those quick ride homes.
Yeah. That was a taste.
So you started producing and you started producing a lot, and then you became an A&R guy.
Yes, that was a shock because I was amongst those people in Nashville that kind of a snot-nosed kind of musicians. We were Christians and all, but we'd sit there and make fun of the Christian record companies for being so backward and square, behind the times and all this stuff. And then one day I had produced Cindy Morgan for Word. And one day, Lauren Ballman called me and basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but, okay, smart guy, you think you're so smart? Come in here and fix this thing. You know, it's not as easy as you think. And so he asked me to be the vice president of A&R. It's like, are you kidding me? I actually said this to him. Are you kidding me? I hate what you guys do. And he said, to his ultimate credit, well, we do too.
Oh, wow. I just saw Lauren not too long ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen him quite often. Yes. Yeah. We've had some business to do, and yes, I'm well aware of what's going on with him. But, so he brought me in kind of to shake it up and to try to put some more modern touches into it against a lot of resistance. And there always was a lot of resistance. And it was always kind of a Sisyphean, however you might say that, pushing the rock uphill.
Sisyphus?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, it was always sort of, on the one hand, we want you to be bold and take risks and do things you shouldn't do, and then on the other hand, you're going to get your hands slapped for doing it. Yeah.
Dang.
And I did.
So, yeah. So,
but it was fun. I got to tell you, that was a really fun time because it was a moment where I was the vice president of A&R record company. I was writing music for people for whatever. I was still producing. I was allowed to produce. And so it was very, it was just a very fertile creative time until the bottom fell out of the music industry.
Yeah. And then you upped and left us here. Yeah.
Well, there was only so much time you could sit in your garden.
Yeah.
With a wife that hated Nashville, right?
Right. So then you go back to you went back to Sacramento, right?
Yeah, her mom was becoming ill. Her dad had kind of gone through a whole illness and died while we were in Nashville, and that didn't help things. So when her mom was taken ill, and we were the music industry had just completely dried up, and I resigned from Word right before I think they fired everybody, and basically sat around for the better part of a year waiting for the phone to ring, and it never did. I mean, just for producing and stuff. I think I think that there was really something to be said for once you got inside the building like that and you were one of them, then it was hard to get back. It was like, now I was one of them.
Right.
So in any event, there wasn't a lot of work to be had at that moment in the music industry. And so, I had always promised Marianne that I would bring her back if she wanted to go. Never thinking she would actually want to go, but she did. And so we did. We came back to Sacramento. That was 2002.
And how do things transpire and progress to where you are now?
Well,
since you've been back in Sacramento?
I mean, I needed work, and so I got a job at the old church that we all went to. Became the worship leader at church, kind of the music director and all. And did that for several years until I moved to another church, and was the worship leader at that church for several years. And in the meantime, I wrote several books. I pretty much thought that my professional musical career was over, except for a few odd things, local odd things that I would do. But really, I always thought when I moved from Nashville, I thought I was going to spend half my time in Nashville. And I told Marianne that. And but the business being what it was at that moment, again, the phone didn't ring, and I was out of sight and out of mind, and it never worked out like that. And so really, after several years, I mean, felt like it was pretty much over. That's partially my fault. I mean, my mindset was over. And so, it wasn't until Michael Blanton, I saw Michael Blanton at an event in Dallas, and he started dreaming dreams and talking about this new thing that he was doing, and asked me if I wanted to have a part in it, and that kind of woke up a whole lot of stuff, and got me back into it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to stop there, and hopefully you can come back and finish this story. But
no, I can't. You're gonna have to buy the book.
But it's been a great hour with you, and I hope you can do another one with me soon, like next Tuesday.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.